This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Among the 7 major sects, the Soul Devourer sect was undoubtedly the most troublesome and feared sect for all the warriors. They often fled the moment they heard their name. Now, hearing Yunxiao's words, they became even more nervous, and their killing speed slowed down. Instead, they were more afraid of the top. In the distance, the 3 commanders of the sea race saw that the sky had turned dark, and their faces also changed. The ugly fish said angrily, "A high-level martial supreme from the human race has made a move." "What do we do?" the commander cried out. Although the 3 of them had suffered heavy losses during their several sieges, they had received praise from Guangqing, who had directly appointed Ugly Fish as the highest commander. This way, Commander Li Jing and Commander Mo Ting had nothing to say. Basically, Ugly Fish was in charge and would listen to his orders. The Ugly Fish said coldly, "You shameless thing. You're only a high-level martial supreme, yet you're actually attacking these dregs. Li Jing, it's up to you to go and meet him." The commander was stunned for a moment, and then his face flashed with joy. He laughed wildly and said, "I should have done so long ago." Because the Ugly Fish's strategy was simply to delay and not seek victory, the Strength Whale commander didn't think that he would be sent out to fight. He had long been unable to bear the front line. As soon as he received the order, he immediately turned into a ray of light and flew forward. The Ugly Fish said, "Although we don't seek victory, we can't allow humans to be so shameless. Commander Mo Ting, you'll be in charge of guarding the formation to prevent other humans from ambushing you. If anything goes wrong, return immediately and don't be greedy for battle." "All right." The demon otter also turned into a beam of light and chased after the whale. The Ugly Fish hesitated for a moment, then immediately ordered, "Everyone, get ready. Lead the troops forward." There was a flash of cold anger on his face. If the humans really sent a large number of high-level martial sovereigns to besiege them, the remaining 50,000 Sea Tribe members would immediately attack the city with all their might and fight to the death. He had a rough idea of the skyscraping city's strength. With the 20,000 Sea Tribe soldiers in front of him and the 50,000 Sea Tribe soldiers now, even if they couldn't take down the city, they could at least break half of its defense. When the deep-sea giant beasts were summoned from the rear, they would be able to break through the city easily. The moment the soul-devouring banner appeared, the entire sky changed its color and became dark. A faint green color began to appear on the corpses that had piled up like a mountain below. Little by little, they flew up like fireflies, illuminating the corpses and presenting a gloomy and terrifying scene. However, there were still tens of thousands of people fighting above. They didn't feel that it was eerie or terrifying, but everyone felt that it was very strange. They didn't know what kind of magical power this was. A large group of Sea Tribe cultivators charged at Duan Xianyu, but he killed them with a single flick of his finger. He extracted their souls on the spot and threw them at the soul-devouring banner. A ghostly face immediately appeared in the house, revealing a strange smile. It opened its mouth and swallowed the souls of the Sea Tribe. Swish! Everyone below sucked in a breath of cold air. Whether it was the sea race or the humans, they all felt a chill and couldn't help but shiver. How many people had ever seen someone extract a person's soul to feed an evil ghost? Soul Devourer Sect. This is the Lord of the Soul Devourer Sect. A warrior couldn't help but exclaim in shock. It was hard to tell whether he was afraid or surprised. However, after a brief moment of fear, the morale of most of the human ancient martial art practitioners was greatly boosted. They laughed wildly and said, "It's the Lord of the Soul Devourer Sect. The 7 superpowers have all sent their experts. Everyone, kill with all your might." All of a sudden, the sounds of killing shook the sky. The pent-up feelings that had been suppressed by the sea race were instantly lifted, and their morale was high. At this moment, the specks of fluorescent light that were surging up gradually condensed in the process of rising, revealing the appearances of various Sea Clan members and humans when they were alive. Their faces were dull, and some showed shock and horror, letting themselves float freely. The eyes of the ghostly face on the soul-devouring banner suddenly shone brightly. Under the brilliant golden light, it slowly flew out of the banner and opened its mouth to suck in. Everyone on the battlefield suddenly felt a cold wind blowing, and a chill ran down their spines. They saw countless souls fly up from their sides and be directly sucked into the strange big face. The killing intent that filled the entire place suddenly disappeared, and was replaced by a chill. Everyone gradually stopped fighting, and couldn't help but circulate their yuan power to dispel the fear that came from the soul. Kekik. Duan Qianyu had a great time sucking and could not help but laugh wildly. He raised his right hand high and spread his fingers apart. Two of his fingers bent down and formed a seal. He pointed at the sky. After devouring tens of thousands of souls, the golden soul slave's body swelled up. A rune appeared on its forehead, corresponding to the seal in Duan Qianyu's hand. Yunxiao frowned, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes as he said, "Be careful, everyone." As soon as he finished speaking, the golden soul slave exploded with a bang. Eh? What's going on? Everyone looked up, somewhat puzzled. Could it be that he had eaten too much and exploded? Just as they were puzzled, the exploded golden soul slave turned into countless rays of light and flew down. Every ray of light revealed an identical face with a strange expression and a terrifying smile. The eyes of the soul slave shone as if a ferocious beast that had been hungry for a few days had seen delicious food. Eh? Suddenly, a sea tribe warrior screamed. A ray of light pierced through his body, and when it came out from his back, he was biting a pale yellow light. Looking carefully, that pale yellow light was the appearance of the sea tribe warrior. His face was filled with fear, and his limbs were constantly struggling, but all of it was in vain. He was directly eaten by the face. After the face ate the soul of the sea tribe warrior, its entire body became a bit bigger, and it revealed a satisfied expression. However, it seemed to be hungry again very quickly. It directly stared at a nearby warrior and rushed over. Eh? The martial artist was a human, and when he saw the ball of light rushing over, he panicked for a moment, but he quickly calmed down and forced a smile. I forgot that the Lord is on our side. I've lost my composure, I've lost my composure. He even smiled at the ball of light that was rushing over and nodded in greeting. The face in the light laughed even more heartily. It passed through the cultivator's body and came out with the cultivator's soul in its mouth. The soul's face showed panic and disbelief. After struggling for a while, it was swallowed by the ghostly face, which grew even bigger. What's going on? Everyone was dumbfounded and felt their blood run cold. Why are you eating your own people? While they were still in a daze, the countless rays of light had already flown down from the sky. Each of them was a ghostly face that had already eaten the souls of hundreds of warriors, including many humans. The members of the Battle Blade team were also frightened, and only then did they understand what Yunxiao meant when he said to be careful. They did not take it seriously before, thinking that Yunxiao was exaggerating, but now they hated him for not shouting to run away. How could they fight? The two rays of light devoured the members of the sea tribe in front of the Battle Blade squad. They grew larger and pounced toward them. Everyone's expression changed drastically, and bean-sized cold sweat dripped down. The unknown was the most terrifying thing. No one had ever fought against this kind of thing, and it ate souls directly. They were all trembling in fear. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two rays of blade light streaked across the sky and directly split the two ghostly faces apart. The two ghostly faces that had been cut into 4 pieces suddenly turned into 4 rays of green light. After spinning in the air, they directly combined into an even bigger ghostly face. It opened its mouth wide and bit at them again. Yunxiao frowned. This soul slave was already at the profound gold level, and even if it had countless incarnations, it could not be killed by ordinary power. The fastest way was to suppress it with Emperor Aura, but he could not use it at this moment. He had no choice but to strike again. With a slash, it turned into a saber cage and tore the soul slave into pieces. Although they couldn't be completely killed, each time they were killed, these soul slaves would lose some of their strength. At least, they were more than enough to protect themselves. Furthermore, there were many martial sovereigns in the human level 1 squads. In their anger, they used their emperor Qi to kill many soul slaves. At this moment, Ning Huaishu, who was on the spectator stand, was already quite angry. He roared, "Duan Qianyu, you deserve to die." Duan Qianyu's entire body trembled. An extremely dangerous aura came from the spectator stand. He saw that Ning Huaishu's eyes were filled with killing intent, and golden light kept surging from his palm as if he was going to kill him. He trembled in fear and hurriedly said, "Misunderstanding, misunderstanding." This was definitely a misunderstanding. "Lord Huaishu, please calm your anger." His hands quickly formed seals and sent them into the soul-devouring flag. Many of the soul slaves on the battlefield stopped and began to distinguish between friend and foe, only attacking the sea race. Ning Huaishu's expression changed several times, and finally, the golden light in his hand slowly dissipated. He said coldly, "If I see you killing another of your kind, I'll definitely cut you into 1,000 pieces." Duan Qianyu forced a smile out of embarrassment, but he felt that it was a pity. Humans had a natural advantage in intelligence, and their souls were stronger than other races. Under the same cultivation base, sucking the souls of one human expert was equivalent to 5 sea race experts. Therefore, under the misunderstanding, just now, he mainly ate the souls of humans. In just a few short breaths, he had eaten the souls of nearly 100 people. No wonder the Soul Devourer sect was hated by the whole world, Fu Yichuan said coldly. Such a cultivation technique and such a mentality are too evil. Fear flashed in Zhuangsheng's eyes as he sighed. That's why the Soul Devourer sect now has an iron rule that they can't kill people for no reason, which is why they have a chance of survival. Leaving some leeway for others is the same as leaving some leeway for themselves. Otherwise, they won't be able to survive if they cause public outrage on the continent. Alchemists were even more afraid of the Soul Devourer clan, and the souls of alchemists were their favorite. Every time Duan Qianyu looked at him, Zhuangsheng felt that he was food. He had not taken it seriously before, but now he could not help but break out in a cold sweat when he saw Duan Qianyu eating the souls of his enemies without even distinguishing between friend and foe. If it wasn't for the fact that this person's technique is of great use, I really want to kill him right now. Ning Huaishu snorted coldly. When the soul slaves outside the giant city started to attack each other, all the humans were relieved. However, they were still alert and kept a distance when they saw the soul slaves coming. At the same time, the pressure on them was also greatly reduced, and the sea race immediately fell into chaos. However, they also discovered that although these soul slaves couldn't be killed, they could be continuously scattered. At the very least, they could keep their lives. Duan Qianyu's expression turned cold. The speed at which the soul slaves devoured the living souls was getting slower and slower. Although there were countless incarnations, each of them was extremely weak. He changed his hand seals and formed a symbol. He pointed it in the air, and a ray of light fell like flower petals. The scattered soul slaves began to gather together and became larger and larger. In the span of a few breaths, the hundreds of soul slaves turned into 3. Each of them was emitting a golden light. They laughed eerily as they ate the Sea Tribe members. This time, they were completely unrivaled. The attacks of the Sea Clan fell on the 3 golden soul slaves like rocks in the ocean. The 3 golden soul slaves were devouring the Sea Tribe souls in large mouthfuls. They ate a few at a time. The Sea Tribe souls didn't even have time to struggle before they were swallowed in an instant. Boom. Suddenly, the sky trembled and an extremely powerful force exploded in the air. Then, a blue energy fell from the sky and struck a golden soul slave. Bang! The golden soul slave immediately exploded into countless rays of light, and all kinds of sharp and strange sounds kept gushing out. In the end, it retreated a few feet and condensed again, but the light was much dimmer. Duan Qianyu's expression changed drastically. He quickly clasped his hands together and the 3 golden soul slaves merged into one. They glowed with golden light and flew back to his side. He grabbed the soul-devouring flag in the air and became vigilant. The faces of the people in the spectator stand also changed slightly. They all looked at the void. A black hole appeared where the punch had landed, and a figure slowly appeared. The figure was light blue in color and had a burly figure. He was only 1.5 human tall, with 2 fangs on his face and a fierce look in his eyes. When all the Sea Clan members saw this, they immediately cheered and shouted, "Commander Strength Whale! The Strength Whale Commander!" All of a sudden, the morale that had been beaten down rose instantly. "A high-level martial supreme of the Sea Tribe?" Duan Qianyu asked. A cold smile appeared on the commander's face as he said, "Despicable human, you're having a good time." Duan Qianyu licked his lips and chuckled, "Not bad, not bad. Your soul is comparable to an ordinary martial sovereign's. Did you send it here to nourish me?" The commander of the Strength Whale showed a ferocious smile, took a step forward, and threw a punch. He said in a cold voice, "Yeah, let's see if you can eat it." Boom. The entire space exploded, and the powerful force swept everything in the surroundings. A black hole appeared under the wind of the fist, and the cracks spread like a spider web. Duan Qianyu was shocked. The might of such a fist force was extremely overbearing. Not only was it as powerful as Mount Tai, but it had also compressed the space to a point, making it impossible for anyone to escape. He hurriedly rolled up the soul-devouring flag in his hand and used it as a profound-level weapon to block the attack. Bang! The soul-devouring banner was hit by a punch, and an unparalleled force shook it. Duan Qianyu felt as if all the bones in his body were about to break, and blood spurted out of his internal organs. He was thrown back more than 10 steps before he could stabilize his body. Strength Whale Commander. Commander Strength Whale. The Sea Tribe members immediately cheered and danced. Due to the appearance of the commander, the people of the 2 clans immediately scattered and formed 2 distinct factions. They all retreated behind them, leaving the battlefield to the 2. Duan Qianyu's injury did not garner any sympathy from the crowd. They all stared at him coldly, and some even looked like they deserved it. "Is it good?" "Trash." The Strength Whale commander sneered, and his body disappeared on the spot with a whoosh. So fast. Everyone was taken aback. Originally, the other party's clumsy body and huge strength should have meant that his agility was extremely low. Unexpectedly, his speed was so fast that it exceeded everyone's expectations. Bang! The moment the mighty whale commander appeared, another fist will was sent out. Duan Qianyu was thrown into the sky, and a long stream of blood spurted out of his mouth. The faces of the spectators immediately turned ugly. They had been completely defeated in just 2 moves. This was too demoralizing. "Let me go," Ren Zhanxiong said coldly. "Since this fanged sea beast dares to come here alone, it must have some skills. Duan Qianyu is not suitable to deal with such a fast and powerful expert." Ning Huaishu started to hesitate, looking at the others for help. "Let's wait and see," Zhang Xiaochu said coldly. "He's a 7 stars martial sovereign after all. Is this the only way he can bully the weak and fear the strong?" Everyone nodded in agreement. After all, they did not have a good impression of Duan Qianyu. If they were not on the same side, they would have applauded him for being killed. Duan Qianyu's body seemed to have been severely injured. After being sent flying, he was suspended in the air, motionless. "Scum, you're not dead yet?" The commander looked up in disdain and said coldly, "Rather than living such a humiliating life, it's better to end it early." His figure flickered as he rushed forward again and threw a punch. Duan Qianyu's body suddenly spun, and he sat up in the air with his legs crossed. He put his palms together, and a fierce aura emerged from his body, as if a ferocious beast was roaring in his body. Roar! At the same time, his face turned extremely ferocious, and his body began to demonize inch by inch. He slammed his palms together in the air. Yunxiao's pupils constricted. He did not expect Duan Qianyu to have also cultivated soul battle techniques. Generally, in the soul-devouring sect, one had to either cultivate soul battle techniques or the soul-devouring flag. It was very rare to cultivate both, and what was even rarer was that he had cultivated them to a rather high realm. The beast roaring in his body was definitely a 9th-tier existence. Bang! The fist and the palm hit each other. Duan Qianyou's body trembled again. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying into the sky. Humph, you're still a little resistant to a beating. The strength whale commander's face revealed a trace of ferocity, and he laughed cruelly. Since that's the case, I'll tear you apart bit by bit and let all of you see it clearly. He suddenly felt that this was a good idea and could deal a blow to the morale of the humans. In a flash, he rushed forward. Duan Qianyou felt as if all the bones in his body had been broken. Some of them were even shattered. Before he could even take a breath, he was hit by a strong force. Damned beast! He let out a furious roar and waved the soul-devouring flag in his hairy hand. The world suddenly changed color as the golden soul slave flew up in an instant. Its mouth was so huge that it could swallow the sky and the earth. The soul slave's speed was slower, so it could not catch up with the strength whale commander's speed. However, Duan Qianyou ordered it to bite him directly, and suddenly, the whole world was within the range of its mouth. This thing is a little troublesome. The commander of the strength whale, who was moving at high speed in the air, frowned. He appeared directly in front of Duan Qianyou, turned around, and threw a punch. Bang! Bang! With 2 consecutive explosions, the profound gold soul slave's mouth was instantly pierced through. It revealed a pained expression, but it quickly recovered and continued to bite. The commander frowned. This was the first time he had seen this thing, and he was a little scared. His figure flashed and he was about to cross the huge hole. A cold look flashed across Duan Qianyou's face. He waved the soul-devouring flag a few times and changed the world. The soul flag was spread out and swept everything in its path. The commander's face suddenly changed, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "You dare to show off your insignificant skills." He clenched his hands in front of him, and a mass of air was grabbed and exploded on the spot. Countless air currents scattered and condensed into raging waves in front of him. After that, Commander Li Jing breathed out, and the Emperor Qi of the 9 heavens on his body mixed with the stormy waves. He suddenly opened his fists and turned them into palm force. Bang! Bang! A large amount of airwaves were blasted in all directions. The golden soul slave's face was twisted from the impact while the strange phenomenon was suppressed, revealing the clear sky. Bang! Finally, the palm landed on Duan Qianyou's body and sent him flying again. Duan Qianyou's entire body was in excruciating pain. All his nerves seemed to have been paralyzed in an instant, and he could not even circulate his elemental energy. He had completely lost his ability to fight. The soul-devouring flag also lost control and fell from the sky. The golden soul slave escaped back into the flag and did not dare to appear again. A hint of killing intent flashed in the commander's eyes. He flew up with a whoosh and chased with a punch. Naturally, he would not let go of the opportunity to kill a high-level martial supreme of the human race. But how could Ning Huaishu, who was in the spectator stand, let him have his way? He said coldly, "Who will make him stay?" "I'll do it." "This person's combat strength is at least at the peak of a 7-stars martial sovereign," Fuichuan said. His figure flickered and appeared in the sky, blocking the path of the strength whale commander. With one hand behind his back, the other hand grabbed the air. The space suddenly shrank under the force of his grab, as if a net had been pulled up. The figure of the powerful whale commander suddenly appeared, and a trace of shock and anger flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "You shameless humans, are you going to fight me one after another?" Fuichuan's face was old, so he naturally didn't mind the other party's sarcasm. He said indifferently, "This is a battle between 2 races, not a duel in the arena. Isn't it shameless for tens of thousands of you to attack my thousands of people?" The strength whale commander was at a loss for words and didn't know how to respond. It could only roar and wave its fist again. Countless fist intents turned into strong winds and blasted out. The space was torn into pieces, and an all-conquering aura gathered and became stronger. Fuichuan's expression changed drastically. Even with his power as an 8-stars martial sovereign, he was still unable to suppress his opponent. Anger welled up in his heart. He took a step forward, and the entire world trembled. His foot had stepped on the frequency of the shaking of the world, borrowing the force to suppress the other party with the might of heaven. Bang! The aura gathered around the strength whale commander was directly crushed by the foot. Under the extreme pressure of the fist force, it made an ear-piercing, hissing sound, causing the ears of countless martial artists to hurt. Damn human, I'm not convinced. The strength whale commander roared loudly, and his body suddenly swelled up several times. His body seemed to have changed slightly, and he clenched his fist again.